Picture this. A girl was sexually assaulted by her father. Her own father. And this was going on for decades. Oh my, words cannot describe the hurt she felt every single day. But guess what? Fast forward several years later, she's healed from the pain and is now using her story to inspire others. She did not get healed because she taught him a lesson he will never forget, but instead she got healed because she forgave him for every single thing he did to her. Weird, right? This girl today is Joyce Meyers, and that is her story. Today, she uses her ministry as a platform to inspire others to forgive. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Forgiveness. How can you forgive someone that hurts you real bad? Welcome again to my channel. And I'm so happy to be back. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about a very interesting and hot topic, which is unforgiveness, because this is something majority of us struggle with. So actually, with the show of hands, who here struggles with unforgiveness? Like who? Like, I see that hand over there. Yes, girl, yes, but I feel you. You're telling the truth right there. So in this video, we're basically going to be very vulnerable to you guys. We're going to share the moments where we felt that we struggled most with forgiving the other party, and active steps that we're taking to learn to forgive.
It's usually situations where let's say I was hurt by a family member, like either a sibling or like a parent, and I just find that I don't know whether I should say it's harder to forgive, or that the pain just hurts more whenever your sibling or your parents should offend you as opposed to like a friend. And I think it's just mostly due to the fact that when someone is your family member, you have very high expectations of them. You're like, you shouldn't do this to me, you shouldn't say that to me. So when I think about those times when I found it very difficult to forgive, it's just mostly those situations.
Okay, I usually struggle most with forgiving people whenever they say something very hurtful to me. And if I'm in a situation where I feel I don't have the power to explain that I'm hurt. So let me give an example. You know, like in African culture now, if somebody is a lot older than you, it's very disrespectful for you to talk back to them or even tell them that they are wrong. So that's why majority of the time, if it's an older person, maybe in the process of trying to correct me or discipline me, they say something very hurtful to me. And rather than me expressing the fact that I'm hurt by what they say, I harbor it in, which builds anger, and it's hard for me to forgive them when we don't talk through the situation. And another situation where I feel I struggle most with forgiving is whenever I end up in a bad relationship. I end up getting really angry at that guy, and I struggle with forgiving him. I'll be honest, it's very hard. Majority of the time you want to be heard, right? And most of these clashes usually occur when those people are refusing to see things from your own points of view. So it seems like you can never get that satisfaction until they see things from your point of view, which will probably never happen. So I've had so many conversations with people, and something they keep on telling me is, for once, why don't you step back and see things from their own perspective, see things from the adult perspective?
Because we're also having like this conversation a few days ago with our big sister, and she was just like, it's just important, like when it comes to certain people in your life, like your parents or like your older sibling, because in our own case, our older sibling is way older than us. So it's like, honestly, battles with them are just hard to win. So it's like, for me, it's just really the whole perspective thing, like trying to see things like, okay, why do they say this? So like what, like where are they coming from? Because whenever you try to step back, like step out of yourself and try to look at things from their own perspective, it just helps you better manage things. Because in my own experience, that's what I've found to like help me. And another thing I do whenever, especially I'm really angry, like whenever I get really angry that way, I also like to pray, because when I pray, like, calms me down, and then there are certain Bible verses that God just drops in my heart, like, okay, concerning the situation, and just helps me to really calm down.
And back to the perspective thing, it's really so hard. So there was an example that my big sister gave. When they were growing up, there was a time she wore these really huge earrings, like basically kind of like what I'm wearing. And her dad was like, she should take off the earrings, that is ratchet. And all that was going on through her mind is, okay, like it's not ratchet, like there's nothing wrong with wearing these earrings. And he's like, you have to understand that the people that I've seen wear these earrings are ratchet. And by the way, I'm not ratchet, but he's like, the people that he's seen wear these earrings are ratchet, so he doesn't like her to be associated with that group. She said she honestly did not really understand what he was saying, but she's like, okay, if that's going to make you happy, well, let me just do it. That's not going to kill me. I'll just take off the earrings. I mean, it was a very good example, like the fact that she tried, even though she didn't really see things from his point of view, she tried to actually relate a little bit with where he was coming from. And I think this is something I really struggle with, right? There are times I'm like, how I don't know, it sounds like really silly, but how, I guess for me, like, I'm somebody that is very strong-willed, and there are times I really struggle with seeing people's perspectives when the reasoning just does not make sense. So how can you, like, learn to take that step back to be able to understand things that honestly would never make sense to you?
I mean, like I said, I just feel like when it comes to like these certain people, like in your life, I'm just like you should just know that they have your best interest at heart. Like when if it's your parents or like your older sibling, they will never like tell you to do anything that wouldn't be helpful for you. So I think it's just really trying to see things from that point of view, like at the end of the day, because there will always be like this generational gap, especially when it comes to our parents. It's like, oh, they're judging based of their own experiences, their upbringing and all of that. So it's like there's always going to be this gap, but you just have to believe that, oh, these people have my best interest.
Remember I mentioned that one of the times I struggle most is when people in general say things that are very hurtful to me. So I'm just like, how do I deal with that? Okay, I know I've spoken to you about this, and one of the things you mentioned is knowing the root cause, right? Like knowing the reason why it always ends up in a in some form of confrontation. And I really like that point that you mentioned, because knowing the root cause of certain things can help prevent so many issues that you have. So like I mentioned, I'm somebody that can be very confrontational, and when she mentioned this whole root cause thing, I was like, maybe the reason why it always ends up in a conflict is because I always try to argue my points whenever they try to discipline me about something.
Yeah.
So I learned that, okay, maybe there are times I should just take a step back and just accept, what they said. And when it comes to the relationship thing, right, I really love that point about root cause. Why did I get into a bad relationship? Was it because I was just ignoring signs I was getting from the beginning? Was it because I was ignoring my instincts? Anytime you're in a bad relationship, you always know. And I guess it just also brings me to another point, back to this whole thing of dealing with hurtful words. There's something I heard which is offense is an event, but offended is a decision. There are some things that I personally feel are easier said than done. So how can you train yourself to not be offended by things people tell you or things people say to you, no matter how hurtful it is?
So something I always say is like, we're in control of our emotions, because that's just the truth. Regardless of whatever situation you find yourself in, you actually do have control over your emotions. Even though there are times where we would like act out, like outside just maybe get extremely angry and all of that. Of course, we're human, so that's bound to happen. But it's something like our big sister's mom was telling us that it's important to even confess every day that today I'm not going to allow anyone or anything to steal my joy. So So just making that daily confession, because at the end of the day you have what you say, because the truth is that we're human beings, we're emotional, and most of the time it's easy for us to get all up in our feelings, but the truth is that we're called to live above our feelings, especially as believers. So it's just important to, I think, the confession aspect, like confess it every day. I refuse to get angry. I'm not going to let anyone get in my way and all of that, because for me, I mean, it's not something I really do, but sometimes it's a mental decision, like, okay, today I'm just not going to allow what this person says to get to me. So I think it's just a growing thing, like it's not going to happen in a day. I was also recently listening to a message by Joyce Meyers on forgiveness, and she said something that, I mean, of course it's something we hear all the time, that you can't go through life without getting hurt. And sometimes we place unnecessary expectations on people, like, maybe your sibling, like you don't think they will ever do this to you, and we don't realize that at the end of the day nobody is perfect. Even your sibling, your best friend, they will, like, you can't go through life without them hurting you. So it's just about also keeping that at the back of your mind, that you're going to get offended. And when you have that at the back of your mind, it's like there's this verse in the Bible that says to make allowance for people's faults. So it's like you've already created room for the fact that you're going to be offended, and because you've already created room before it happens, you're able to even manage things better when whatever the event actually does happen. So I mean, it's hard, but like I said, no one can live in their feelings and have a successful life. That's just the reality of life. So which leads me to my next point: how do you know if you have truly forgiven somebody? Because there are times where you feel like, oh, you're forgiving somebody, but then you realize that just situations that make you realize, like, oh, let's say you see the person's thing on Instagram and then you just start insulting the person. So how do you know that you let go?
I guess you basically mentioned it. Maybe if it gets to a point that you think about the person and anger is not your first emotion.
I think it's just when you get to that point where, of course, when you see the person, there's no, like, there's peace in your mind about, like, the person. You don't there's no this, like, yucky feeling you have in yourself about the person. Another thing I was just going to add, the first step to even taking, like, to forgiveness is actually the decision, deciding that you're going to. Because many times people always say stuff like, oh, I don't feel like forgiving this person, but to be honest, whoever feels like forgiving, like, it's just human nature. Like, when you're wrong, you want justice to be done. That's just regular human nature. But of course, like, as believers, we have to realize that we're called to live above our feelings. So it's just about making that decision at first, whether you feel like it or not, that I'm going to forgive. And that when you make that decision, eventually, like, your emotions will, like, catch up to that decision. And like what she said about, like, making that confession every day, like, I'm not going to let anyone or anything steal my joy. And I think, I mean, this was something we also learned yesterday, because we both listened to, like, a message by Joyce Meyers on forgiveness. That one will also put the link in the like, below. And something Joyce Meyers said was also praying for the person. Like, you know that Bible verse?
That sounds weird.
That Bible verse that says to pray for your enemies. Like, literally taking that, because that's something I've actually never done, but I was like, that's actually a useful tip, because she's like, you can't be mad at somebody that you pray for, and that's very true. So it's something I intend to incorporate.
And I know, yet I'll be honest with you, when I first heard that, I'm like, that's weird, because you want the person to suffer, right?
You want to be vindicated.
Yeah, I guess the advice I'll give you, because even me, I thought that was very silly and that was very weird. To be able to practicalize the praying for that person is, just for once, don't think about vengeance against that person. Think about the fact that you're trying to help someone else. You're trying to ensure that the person that hurt you doesn't hurt another person. Because if you pray for them, you're praying that God will change their hearts in some way.
Because they're literally, like, stepping outside of yourself. Like, you're taking the focus off yourself and what they did to you, and, like, you're like, God, just transform, like help this person to do better in so and so area, so that another person does not get hurt. The other thing is also not like don't keep regurgitating, like don't keep like talking about the events. Of course it's okay, like of course it's normal when something happens you want to like tell your story and all, but one way to really get over it is don't keep like replaying it. Don't keep telling every single person you meet, so this is what they did to me, this one, because it's like how Joyce Meyers described it, is like you have a wound, and then every time you talk about it, it's like, let's say the wound is healing, you're now like picking the scab, so it starts to bleed again, like you're doing yourself more harm, and you keep doing it. Let's say you heal again, pick it again, so it's like you keep reopening those wounds. So basically don't regurgitate it. Just, I mean, it's human to want to talk about it, but just self-control.
And I guess the last thing I also really wanted to mention, unforgiveness is like drinking a poison and expecting that the other person dies. Because at the end of the day, when you choose to forgive someone, you're not doing the other person a favor, you're actually doing yourself a favor. Because there are times, honestly, I've dealt with unforgiveness all my life, and I know how I feel anytime I'm so angry towards someone. Like I don't even have peace of mind. I'm sleeping and I'm thinking about what they did to me and how I can pay them back. There are even times I've even planned to like teach somebody a lesson. Like I've actually tried to strategize things that I will go to this person's house, I will be dressed up in this is what I will do to them. Like I've actually framed that story, but the fact is that it just clouds your mind, because rather than me doing something I enjoy most, I'm just getting stressed out by the devilish plan I have for someone. It's not doing me any good, because the person is probably in Hawaii enjoying his or herself, and I'm here plotting evil against the person. So basically unforgiveness is doing you harm. So I guess that'll be one motivation to help you forgive others, because you want to be at peace. Like YOLO, man, YOLO.
Okay, though. I mean, yeah, because honestly, peace is so important. Like for you to live a happy life, you need to be peaceful. Like you can't have peace, because even if you're holding you have something in your heart, even if you think you like gotten over it, or let's say you don't see the person, so you don't realize that it's in your heart somewhere, like in your subconscious, like this resentment that you're holding on to impacts your other relationships, and you may not even know, especially when it comes to like maybe romantic relationships. Maybe you've not forgiven your ex. Like how do you expect to enjoy your present relationship and have a peaceful relationship? Also, another thing is just to also realize that we have been forgiven, and because we've been forgiven by God, we also have to extend that same grace and forgiveness to other people. Because honestly, like if God were to punish us according to everything that we've done, like none of us will be able to stand. So I think that's also a primary realization, like you forgive because you've been forgiven. So whether you feel like it or not, you just do it just to extend that same grace and love to other people. And truth is that honestly, your life is an inspiration to other people. People can see your life and you're like, this person, they look at your life and like, this person is a forgiver. It also motivates them to also want to forgive.
That's all we have for you guys. I hope we've not confused you, but we've been able to convince you that forgiving is lit.
Okay, don't.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys, and honestly, please join in the discussion. Please feel free to comment the times where you felt you struggled most with forgiving someone, and also feel free to share some active steps that you're taking to learn to forgive. I would really love to get your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you guys on our next video.
Thank you.
Bye.